Alright, what is going on everyone? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome in if you're new. In this video we're going to be discussing Hex and the fact that we're approaching all-time highs. So if you enjoy this kind of technical and quantitative analysis on the Hex price, leave a thumbs up, be subscribed by the end of the video if you aren't already. Let's talk about this. So we've gone over the fact that once we're above our 21-day EMA, 20-day MA ribbon, it's generally a good sign. When we're below it and then we cross above, it's generally a good sign. And we've seen this historically ever since Hex started. And using this ribbon is a little better because it provides a little kind of margin of error, so that once you cross above it, it's again generally a good sign. Once you cross beneath it and start holding it as resistance, it's generally a bad sign. And you can see that play out over here. And this is a great example of why we use a ribbon, is because over here you could argue we had kind of a fake out above the purple curve, and not to be interpreted as something like this, but rather when we have our 20-day MA, you see that we're still below the ribbon, right? And if we're below the ribbon, it's generally a bad sign. And you saw that we held it at resistance a couple times, capitulation, and then once we were above it and holding the entire ribbon as support, that was your sign that we were blasting off. Here you could argue we held it as support. Here we broke beneath it. You could argue for a fake out over here, but for the most part, we held it as resistance, right? Up until we crossed above it, and then it's a good sign. So we've seen this play out multiple times. We can continue on to show that it has continued to happen, such as, again, over here. Once we crossed above it, it was generally a good sign. We had a nice little 2x move. Over here, decisive. Once we have decisive support on it, and with bullish formations, it's generally a great sign. This was your ascending triangle, blasted off. This over here was clear resistance against it, similar to over here, right? And then here, once we broke above it, held the ribbon as support, good sign, blast off. So you can find examples of this in multiple spots. This one, again, not a crazy pump, but 2x, not bad. And you continue on to find all these examples of once we find support, it's generally a great sign. And so that leads you to say, well, once we're beneath it, it's probably a good time to buy, right? Once we maybe held it as resistance 2-3 times and we've reached some sort of lower low at some point, right? You can see that play out here. Held the ribbon as resistance once, twice, 3 times, had a third lower low. It's a great time to buy. Here, once, twice, you could argue 3 times here, had our third lower low, great time to buy. Same with over here. Same with over here if you look at candles, or these are actually kind of higher lows, but you could argue for a double bottom here. But we had held it as resistance once, twice, and then crossed above it. So you see the pattern, right? You see the pattern. And this is where we are now. Now I'm going to go to V2 because that is better at providing data of now, right? Because liquidity is on V2. V1 is just for the history. So something pretty interesting, right? Down here, we held this as support during this fake out. And then we bounced above it, had this beautiful ascending triangle, or falling wedge, or excuse me, falling, is it a falling wedge? Yeah, this bull flag, falling wedge, ascending triangle, like there's a bunch of ways you could have interpreted this move, or this formation, but generally bullish. And again, we held this as a fake out, like it broke beneath it. This wasn't a fake out, excuse me. We held it as support because the full candle didn't close beneath the purple curve, although it did, this next one here did close beneath the blue curve. But overall, we were still holding support on the ribbon. And then we had our bullish formation, support with some wicks before this local top came down for a fake out, is what it's looking like over here, because we closed 2 candles beneath the ribbon. We held it as resistance over here, slightly, the blue curve. So we're kind of within the ribbon, if you look at it, because we held the blue curve as resistance, but the purple curve as support over here, right? We didn't close full candles beneath it, and now we've broken above, and now we're above the ribbon again. So you've seen historically what happens when we get above the ribbon. You saw it over here, about a 3 or 4x move. You saw it over here, about a 2x move. Over here, about a 2 to 3x move. Over here, nice 4x move. And over here, you could argue a nice 2 to 2.5x move. So could we be seeing a 2, 3, 4x move? Probably. I mean, we're approaching all-time highs. we are literally like 10% away from all-time highs. And you know that once all-time highs are broken, price discovery generally tends to be a hell of a ride. So we held support very nicely. We already found support on our previous resistance zone. We had our nice hidden bullish divergence on the RSI. And something pretty interesting that I just kind of noticed the other day is if you extend the right line, you could argue that this is our trend line, our support trend line. You can more clearly see it on a line chart, right? Where we have our nice support here with full bodies of candles, and it's been holding support, this trend line, short-term trend line. So that's generally a good sign, and we held a nice strong uptrend with some bullish hidden divergence. Things look good in my opinion, especially the fact that we've now crossed above the ribbon. So that's the moving average analysis, kind of longer than usual, but just wanted to cover that moving average analysis for you. And what else? I think I had something else ready for you guys. Heat maps, right? So we've gone ahead and updated our heat maps today, July 4th, 2021. And they used to look like this, right? So our 100-day MA weekly heat map was this. And now we've printed some new data points here. And funny enough, we're at a higher price than we were like a week or two ago, but it's cooled off, right? Because this corresponds to this, right? Our risk metric, which you can see it here, clear bullish divergence on the risk metric as well, where we have higher lows on price, but lower lows on the risk metric. So things have cooled down enough to the point where we could have potentially a further move up, right? We've seen these colors before. For example, over here, not trying to get you to FOMO too hard, but we've seen these colors over here before a move up. All right, we've been at these levels about 0.27 way back over here before a 10x move. So 2x move incoming or 10x move incoming, it's hard to tell, right? 20 cents or a dollar, I have no clue. But yeah, I just wanted to cover that. The fact that our rainbow heat maps have been updated with new data points as well, right? Boom, boom. You can see that we've printed new data points. Things still look good. We haven't reached, obviously, these levels yet. This just corresponds to our regression rainbow. So if we pull that up, just to give you guys an update of what that looks like. And I zoomed in because I realized like you guys need to be able to see what I'm talking about. Right, we're still between orange and yellow. So our fractal that we'd been discussing, slower, playing out slower, more elongated, but it's still in play, in my opinion, as long as we're in between the orange and the yellow curves. Then I think we're still in this sort of region of the fractal, assuming it's playing out. So that's what I wanted to cover in this video. If we go to hex.vision, which I never really cover here on the channel, but I decided, you know what, why not? Then we're approaching 300,000 active addresses, which is going to be a huge milestone. Only about 53 to 5,400 addresses away from 300,000. You have your 10% hex staked, almost. You have your open stakes by expected end time, which shows you kind of like July 11th, we have 1 billion hex being unstaked cumulatively. The next big spike of about 1 billion hex is not until May of next year. Holy shit. And yeah, you generally see this moving short-term wall of people who are just trying to sell interest on a big stack. Obviously, they're not taking advantage of the longer pays better share system, right? Because they're doing short recompounding stakes, which will never outperform longer stakes, which is why the share price was invented. But yeah, so you'll see this sort of interest-bearing sell wall kind of just move along with time, but it'll probably get smaller over time in height because these people will be being diluted by people who are actually staked longer, right, and unstaking. So that'll be interesting to watch play out. But yeah, hex.vision, I don't know why I've never plugged it on the channel before because it's absolutely amazing. If anyone knows, by the way, so if anyone knows how to pull this sort of data in a simple CSV form, just spreadsheet form, hit me up. leave a comment down below, or DM me on Twitter or Telegram. I'll leave the links to that in the description. Or yeah, or just drop a comment, because I really would love to pull this sort of data of expiring shares and open stakes by expected end time, and be able to do some even more advanced models for you guys. So yeah, if anyone knows how to do that, familiar with the Elastic Cabana stuff, like I'm not too, again, same thing when I was starting making the website, right? I was asking for help from the community in the chat, and I got some good responses. And like I was saying, like, as long as you point me in the right direction, I will generally be able to figure things out. So I appreciate any comments pointing me in the right direction to, be able to pull this sort of data from this website. I think it would be really, really cool. I'd make some models. You guys know I have fun with the quant stuff. I'd probably make some pretty badass models that no one has ever made before. So yeah. Let me know if any of you guys are versed in that. I also wanted to make a final note on the last video, yesterday's video, which was on the PulseChain sacrifice capital, right? And all right, so I wanted to make this comment based on the comments I received, saying things like the poll itself wasn't indicating US dollars, but rather in hex quantity. And I really don't know if that's true. I doubt you'd have 1 to 1K hex as a sacrifice option. Like, who's going to sacrifice eight pennies? I don't know. It just seems a little off to me, but he might be right. If that's the case, then I would have been off by a factor of what, like 10x. So instead of 180 million to 1.6 billion, it would be like 18 million to, 160 million. So the 180 million is still kind of on the cards, but in one case it's worst case scenario, in one case it's best case scenario. I think he meant dollars. I really do think they meant dollars, but we'll see, right? And then we had a bunch of people saying that this was huge, the missing voters thing, that like, yeah, they're saying, I didn't vote, I'm going to drop a huge stack. And I know some hexkins that are going to drop 10 million bucks or 20 million bucks. Like, I got some comments saying people knew big money was entering. So at that point, I think the assumption that we're talking in dollars here, I think the units are right. I'll stick by that. But I mean, thanks for the comment. Just wanted to clear that up. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. We're approaching all-time highs. We're only like, again, 10% away. So let me know what you guys think. If we're going to break through, are we super bullish? Is this going to hold resistance? Then we're going to come back down. Is this significant, you think, that we went above this ribbon? Are we going to close above the ribbon? Because we still have 3 hours before we know. So as long as we close above the 8 penny region or so, we should be good for that. Leave a thumbs up. Be subscribed by now. Thank you so much for 3,000 subscribers. Again, let's get to 4,000. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.